Hello, everyone. Warm greetings from NatStrat. We have assembled again here today to continue our conversation series. And today we are very fortunate to have amidst us Dr. Vikram Singh, the retired IPS and renowned ex-Director General of Police UP. He led the force with great distinction, highly decorated, and seldom do we find, sir, a police officer with literary bent of mind, with a spiritual bent of mind, and such a multifaceted personality who can speak on security, intelligence, terror, and a number of issues with ease and confidence because of his authority. So we'll discuss with him about the internal security challenges faced by the Indian police today or our country, how to strengthen our security. These are some of the questions that we would be informally discussing amongst ourselves, sir. So, without taking much time, let's start with malaise, if I may say so, which is afflicting everywhere in the world, in the Indian context, the threat of terror. How do you see the state of terror in India?
Thank you very much, Mr. Shantanu Mukharji, for giving me this wonderful platform of NatStrat. It will be a privilege and honor to share my ideas with you. As you very rightly mentioned, security has multiple dimensions today, and the world was never so insecure as also India than what they are today. Terror has multiple areas and the dimensions to which, if I would say, that like cancer, terror also at times can be frustrating to handle, can be very difficult even today. And terror, if the people in authority say there is good terror and bad terror, you can well understand that the special interest groups will go to absurd lengths to protect terror, and that is where the problem arises. If the abandoned Iraqi soldiers are re-christianed in the ISIS, if the Taliban, the origin of Taliban, was bad enough, and certain cadres infiltrating into India through the nefarious designs of the ISI, indoctrination of a local youth, though not much successful. We had the organizations like the SIMI, Student Islamic Movement of India, the PFI, the likes of Dr. Zakir Naik. Mr. Shantanu Mukharji, you have had a very illustrious career in the police yourself. It is very easy to take on an adversary who is proclaimed an offender. But when there are those who say, Hafiz G, Osama G, Dr. Zakir Naik is an apostle of peace, and make him a guest faculty in the National Police Academy, Hyderabad, and the National Academy of Administration, Basuri, it is the problem that arises there. People who would patronize the PFI for their passing out parades, for their armed marches, and would not utter a word. Please go back in your memory lanes and find which of our politicians condemned Sar Tan Se Juda. And if they did not condemn Sar Tan Se Juda, what are you hinting at? If this is not vote bank politics and policy of appeasement, this is the biggest detriment. I would say the last word on terrorism: I may win or lose, my country can never lose. And this is all the politicians should realize. We have the intelligence, we have the wherewithal, we have the structure, we have the basic infrastructure. But when the people at the top decide to call the proclaimed offenders who have blood in their hands of our soldiers and of our innocent citizens, they cannot be given undeserved praise, and that sends a negative signal. The combat strategies are in place, our weaponry is in state, and more so, in the last, should I say, 9 years, have been game changers. We have called a spade a shovel. We have got a roadmap ready. We have kept the gunpowder dry. But where is the impediment? Certain state governments would refuse to acknowledge that there is terror in their area that is brewing, that there is breeding ground for terror. I will stop at that because a word to the wise is enough. There are certain states who are happy breeding grounds for terrorism and terrorists in the guise of teaching institutions and also giving undeserved scholarships there. The scholars there are teaching open secession, open revolt. If that cannot be curbed, these situations must have happened in your career, in my career, and I took it upon as a personal challenge. If today you say that the next time when you come, the walls here will have the photograph of the deceased Prime Minister who's alive today, and his photograph will be displayed when you come the next time, I think it is a challenge to the police chief of that district. If openly somebody is claiming that the Prime Minister of this country will be done to that, well, only one will remain. Either you will remain or I will remain. Both of us will not leave this place of worship together. That is the kind of no-nonsense approach. We do have wonderful men and women in the IAS, the IPS, in the services, who are there to deliver success. Political quarters who find unnecessary reasons to prop up and also support their systems, breathe oxygen into them.
Now, got your point. Really, my dear viewers, the pearls of wisdom being so well articulated by Dr. Vikram Singh, who is a veteran in combating terror and all security-related issues. And you said that the impediment you listed out, you outlined where the problems are, where the obstacles are. You should not glorify the likes of Dr. Zakir Naik and other hate preachers. They should be. But what do you think? You are following these developments very closely. What do you think that is there we can see an end coming for these things because of the stringent measures being taken by the government, and the likes of you who are the think tank and who are kind of writing, speaking on media? Do we have some hope? Now, I would request you that, because it's a conversation, that in the light of, say, this Anantnag terror attack, now, what is the number one, the element of preventive measures which could prevent them? And you say that we are well armed, the powder is dry, we can tackle situations and all. What else could be done to make it, to the extent possible, a watertight arrangement so that these things do not occur again? That's my question.
You, Mr. Mukherjee, have referred to the tragic incident in which we lost 3 of our brave officers.
That's right, sir.
RR is a very professional fighting force, and to have been led by the colonel himself speaks volumes. The 2 IC also giving the supreme sacrifice, and the Deputy SP Humayun Bhatt also giving the supreme sacrifice. Unfortunately, the heavy price that the nation has had to pay to show that there is close coordination between the Jammu Kashmir police and the army. The RR is led by the officers from the front. They are not bathroom and bedroom generals. They are battlefield inoculated generals and soldiers who lead from the front. But there are important lessons to be drawn. From my experience, I think there is an element of deception and fraud. There's an element of ambush of our contingents, and they were ensnared into that ambush. I may be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but I have a gut feeling that if the RR and the Kashmir police, which is battle ready and has tremendous experience, were led into an ambush, and this is the statecraft and the battlecraft of a very crafty enemy. How they were able to convince to go to a particular location and give plausible evidence, I would say that that requires a deeper study and a later date. But the weaponry that we are using today, I take you back, sir, to the year 2002, when under General Atta Hasnain, we had Operation Sarp Vinash. That was a thundering success. A thundering success. Sarp Vinash happened 21 years ago. And today we are having this. Look at our weaponry. Look at our night vision devices. Look at our Heron drones. Look at the technology that we have. I would rather, I've been very happy. Of course, I have no first-hand experience, but I'm told that they are thermal ready and thermal imaging missiles that can identify any living object in the area and capable of neutralizing. But that, of course, remains to be seen whether we would be in a position to utilize them or not. But you can see what worked yesterday will not work today.
Correct.
We were successful in 2002 also. But between 2002, you go back another 10 years, we were sitting ducks in front of the terrorists.
Very right.
Their technology, their mobile system, the Thoraya mobile company of Pakistan was there only to cater to the mobile requirements of the terrorists. Their weaponry was at par with the best American forces in the world. As also their first aid, their equipment, they even would have swabs that would prevent and control bleeding in a state of war. We did not have them.
Very right.
2002 was a game changer, and today it's a different game. I take this as a setback, but a setback with important lessons in field crafting tactics for all of us. And I think we'll get the better of the truth. There are questions that today is the 7th day of the encounter. How long will it take? It is not predictable. It may end now while we are talking. It may take another 7 days. But yes, a resolute nation is determined to neutralize those and also the special interest groups who are supporting them.
Very right, very enlightening and very revealing. At the same time, you mentioned about Pakistan, and you have had great exposure analyzing security-related developments. See, if I may ask you, that has the Pakistani notorious and nefarious ISI, has it stepped up its aggression against India, the proactive operations, the offensive operations? What do you think? Was it the handiwork of ISI? Could we expect more such attacks on the Indian targets?
Mr. Mukherjee, the options before a failed state, a rogue state, are very limited. The only reason why they are existing today is because of hate India sentiment. They have nothing else to bank upon or live upon. That is the only sentiment for which Pakistan exists today. And we fall into the trap of things like Aman Ki Asha, cricket matches and things. My personal feeling is both cannot go simultaneously. Either stop terror or there will be no cricket and no Aman Ki Asha. Now, coming to the fact of the ISI. What is the pedigree of the ISI? ISI has dealt in drugs in Afghanistan. It has fed itself. It has fed the Pakistan army. It has fed the nation also, who has no revenue. I think Noida will have more people who are richer than Pakistan, $3 billion. There are more people in Noida who would have those $3 billion. Now, coming to the monkey tricks of the ISI. Is it drug trade? Is it abductions? Is it mass killing, targeted killing? Is it, you see, if I were to give you 2 or 3 examples, fake Indian currency, get the dies from auctioned by the Reserve Bank of India through Abdul Karim Telgi, get the inks and the other machinery from Germany, establish a plant in Bahawalpur, get a nexus between the Bank of Nepal and the Habib Bank, create Himalayan banks all across Indo-Nepal borders for the purpose not for the growth of economy, but to pump in the fake Indian currency into India. The demonetization affected you and me in a very minor manner. It was not even just like a cough. But for Pakistan, entire Pakistan shriveled because they were living on fake Indian currency. The economy dwindled because of the demonetization. Nobody talks about that.
That's very interesting to know.
Then talk of the drug trade. Immense amount of it is reported that ISI is a beneficiary. The total foreign earning with Pakistan's government is $3 billion. ISI in its coffers through ill-gotten wealth from illegitimate trade of drugs has $8 billion. You can compare, jisko kehte hain, kamau pooth.
Very vital statistics, sir, and it's very professionally very enlightening to know such details and all. That I noticed that in India, touch wood, there is a let-up, albeit temporarily, the cessation of the terror activities, because our forces, I feel as a professional, very vigilant, they are alert, and these things are not happening. So ISI, you spoke in detail about that, and I'm inclined to agree to that also. Do you think, as a perception, as a thought, if our intelligence agencies could think of something, those of countering there, like they say that offense is the best defense, would that work? Just theoretically, what do you think about it? Your thoughts?
Shantanu only this will work. Offense being the best defense. You have eternal vigilance is the price you pay for liberty. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrit sajja. When the yogi, and I would say an intelligence operative, sleeps, he keeps one eye open. He cannot afford to sleep with both the eyes closed. And that is the way. His technology has to be a generation ahead of that of the terrorists. His weaponry has to be that. His thinking process. I have found that 2 or 3 countries have never felt themselves helpless. The Mossad and Israel. China, we may be questioning them, but yes, I find that there are Chinese police stations in the USA and in Europe.
Yes.
I really don't know, but the fact of the matter is that anybody who's their nation's enemy cannot live or sleep in peace wherever he may be, anywhere in the world. They will get after them. And that should be the signal that India today should give to the entire world. We need to do it because the adversaries are sly, scheming, intriguing, and they'll stop at nothing. Therefore, there cannot be any questions of propriety, of considerations. When you are with an adversary who knows no laws, we have to cater to that contingency and give a befitting reply.
Very right. So we have got some clarity, extensive clarity on how to address the terror concerns with this training, emulating from countries like Mossad and all, that we can do it. And of course, one eye has to be kept open to combat that. So the terror, let's leave at that. We've got enough of education from you, sir, on that. Let's come to another menace, which is in check, but yet, as a police officer, both of us, we have served, and you have served at the helm, really. The communal problem, the malady of the communal, the thing purely from the law and order point of view, is it well under control, or what else could be done to see that it is nipped in the bud, whether this streamlining of the intelligence or this thing? What do you think about it?
I'm happy you've raised this question, and I would like to address it in a little detail. In a scale of 1:10, 10 years ago, it would have been 3 out of 10. For different reasons, because UP is almost a country. Had it been a country, it would have been the 5th largest country in the world. And what happens in UP impacts the entire nation. Likewise, I take you back to the visit of Donald Trump. What happened in Delhi was a nightmare and an eye-opener. People would get away with murder, literally and metaphorically, the way things happened, the preparations. I would take you to the house of that corporator of, I would not name the political party, the manner in which he had collected the Molotov cocktails, explosives, sand mixed with red chili powder, as also something akin to the Iraqi customized catapults, iron angles molded into the V, and tire tubes cut into the catapult braces, and huge missiles and ball bearings used to impact and throw to a radius of 300 meters, almost as big as a football field. You can well understand the devastation. It did not happen in a day. There was preparation. Now, the communal violence. Who is feeding the communal violence? There are certain outfits and political parties that feed only on such festering situations, and their only game plan. You can see for yourself that there are parties who will gain by good law and order, and there are parties who would gain only by partisan politics and appeasement and vote bank politics. And here is where the problem arises. But when there is a firm government, as is in the case of Uttar Pradesh, and also to some extent in some other states, where you have a policy of zero tolerance, stoning, abrogation of section Article 370. Why has stoning stopped after that? Why is there a containment of terrorism after that? The fact of the matter is that those who were eating out from the state treasury have been kept in check. Likewise, in the states where the communal situation is under check, the nefarious activities, those who were creating poison in society, they have also been contained. And also action under such stringent action within the National Security Act Subclause 2, Public Order, Makoka, UP Control of Gangsters Act Section 14(1), confiscate all movable and immovable property, break the financial backbone, and then you will see. Dealing with cosmetics or dealing terminal cancer with tincture iodine will not work.
Very right. That is a very tentative thing, a stopgap. Ad hoc thing will not work.
It will not work
That
at
is
all.
very good. I heard in one of your TV presentations about the basics or the nut bolts of the policing to tackle communal thing. You talked about the age-old maintenance of festival register, Tewar register, the role of the LIU, I heard the saying, and the documentation part in the police stations to nip in the bud the communal threats and all. So, if I recall correctly, you were very right in saying that those needs to be revived, the basic, the most fundamental things. Unless they are addressed, then they assume monstrous proportions and they go beyond control. So, what is your take on that, sir? In a pan-India thing, whether it is necessary to enforce those things for an uniform policing all over the country, this is common to address the commonly sensitive problems.
Great question, and I would be happy to address that. It is no longer an option, it's a compulsion that the age-old Thana records, which have given us good service and have stayed in good state for the last 160 years, I would say that every police station in the country has 6 basic records. The village crime notebook that has a documentation of all the crime, communal, all those people, history sheeters who have been involved in crime. Sampradayik Suchna Register in communal
Correct.
information.
Correct.
Sampradayik Gunda Register, communal Gunda Register. Then active list, Gunda list, Thana Deksh Gopaniya Diary, festival register, which festival has a propensity and a potential to go off tangent and have communal overtones, who are the people who are instigating communalism, and who are the people who can help the police. All these aspects are discussed in great detail. Unfortunately, what has happened with digitization, we thought that all our solutions will come from digitization. To the contrary, both have to work together and in tandem. Digitization also and the documentation part. Digitization is a consequence of good documentation. If there is no documentation, digitization cannot operate in vacuum. Therefore, to have all these documents well done, inspections. The inspection, you may recall, of a DIG or an IG was some matter that
definitely.
existed, that
Sure.
went on for
Yeah,
5 days, 7 days.
yeah.
There were rural visits and rural night halls. You and I were supposed to be in a rural area and make 180 night halls in the rural area. The purpose was not to have picnic there. The purpose was to interact with the public, the village chowkidars, the gram pradhans, the licensees, the pensioners. Why? Not to have picnics and whisper sweet nothings, but to get criminal and communal intelligence from
Very
them.
right.
And once you had that, you had the Gram and Mohalla defense societies who would work as force multipliers in case of an attack or any communal incident. These Mohalla defense societies and the intelligent among the IPS and the IS, what they have done, they have made WhatsApp groups also in the entire area. Any information of relevance, anything that is not fitting into the Raja picture, they are informed the DM and the SP. 4 channels of information. The Thana and the Chowki are the roots from
That's
where
right.
all intelligence emerge. Then the local intelligence unit, then the special branch, then also the central intelligence. With so many channels, you really have to try hard to bungle and not to have any intelligence.
Very
Today-
right. Talking about these documents, and very rightly, the most basic questions we have addressed that. There used to be one, that Khufia notebook or confidential, where
SO's
and it would
confidential
pass
diary.
on those things at the very grassroots level. Do you think that is still relevant? That should
It is most relevant because certain things are cannot be made come in public domain. But it has 2 sides. One, suppose there is an MLA or an MP who is a receiver of stolen property. That has to find mention in the Gopaniya diary. But what has happened in the last 25 years is that people are scared that those secret documentation may be passed on to the person himself, and that person who's writing it, being a very thorough professional, may come to harm professionally if it is disclosed that the person concerned is privy to what he has written. There should be system and mechanism that the confidential information may not only be just restricted to the SO's confidential diary, but must go to the SP and the district magistrate in a proper format. Today, in the age of digitization, that should not be a problem. I think the diary itself needs to be digitized also.
Very right. Very, very relevant and very pertinent idea about it. So, with another professional topic we would like to touch upon is the threat of Maoists in certain areas of the country. We know about Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh in particular, some tracts of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh. We keep, intermittently, we keep coming across the revival of those activities. We see something happen. So what do you think, sir? There's the Maoist threat, the Naxalite violent attacks. They're well under control now because of late, fortunately, we have not seen any dastardly attacks targeting police and all, or we need to step up our vigilance further.
Of course, Mr. Mukherjee, I take you back to the year 2008. In the DG's conference, in which I was also one of the participants from Uttar Pradesh, no other than Mr. Ajit Doval, the then Director IB, said before the Honorable Prime Minister that 40% of the land mass of this country is directly impacted by left-wing extremism. 40%. This was the year 2008. To your question, what have we done since then? I think things are much, much better. There is no Jahanabad, no hijacking of trains. There is no attack on police stations. There is no attack.
No Dantewada.
No Dantewada. But yes, there are also urban Naxalites. A word of caution.
Yeah.
Therefore, any optimism has to be tempered with extreme caution. Maoists are fast learners and their mentors sitting across the border tell them how to operate with impunity from the urban areas, whether it is Gurgaon, whether it is Hyderabad, whether it is Pune. And that is where another dimension of left-wing extremism. First, Kabir, see, these people are educated, these people are highly motivated, and money is not about them. They are flushed with funds. The question or the allegation that they lack funds, no. I give you the example of Techie Madhu Kumar, a BTech graduate, passing out of a prestigious engineering college, belonged to Naim's gang of Hyderabad, establishing 3 factories in 3 different parts, and created, you know, sir, 1,600 grenade launchers using his technical knowledge to fabricate 1,600 rocket launchers and giving to the Naxalites. We in the police, you would be knowing, we don't have grenade launchers, but Naxals had them. Similarly, the Claymore mines, fabricated, designed by them, so as to have the maximum killing and destruction area, so that the entire police stations could be wiped out by designing. They're like mini cannons. What they use are shot put balls put inside a drum, explosives put, and once they are directed, police station after police station were razed to the ground by the use of these directional cannons and explosions. There are explosions of in the South India were a cause of very great concern. UP had 5 districts: Chandauli, Ghazipur, Balia, Mirzapur to some extent, and Sonabhad. Not a single case of Naxalism, where even Kulpahad and other Robertsganj police station of Mirzapur was attacked. There have been so many cases. If you go to their website, the Bhawanipur, they call it the Bhawanipur massacre. The fact of the matter was it was Bhawanipur encounter. It's a different matter that 13 left-wing extremists were killed in that encounter. But what they would call is a Bhawanipur massacre. After these very proactive and definite measures, I feel that the Naxalites have indeed beat a very hasty retreat, but they have shifted gears to urban Naxalite. And look at their PR work. Outstanding is the word. I think any PR person would do well to understand. They would take the sides of the deceased priest, that he was a destitute. If he was a destitute, what gave him the right?
Just to earn sympathy.
Just to earn sympathy. That he was not given a straw. I refuse to believe that any jail superintendent would refuse to give a straw to any inmate. What to talk of that high-profile inmate? But their propaganda, their ability to serve lies, outright lies, fake news in a manner that it becomes not only a half-truth, but almost something akin to truth. So that the urban Naxalites will have to be dealt with very properly. The Tukde gang, as we usually call them here in Delhi, also are a part of the left-wing extremism. Therefore, it is not only in the border areas, the tribal area of the forest. Now, the urban Naxalites, although they also are not very foreign, but they do exist, and the vestiges of infection will also have to be contained before we have even a breather of complacence.
So still it's an unfinished task,
Oh yes,
I would say.
very much.
Now, talking about that, other than these things, we notice everywhere in the press, in the print media, electronic media, that the trust deficit between the people, the public and the police, that gulf is widening. And I do not know, so many years of policing and all is still, and so much of efforts are being put by the senior officers, thinkers like you, so many forum we are seen collectively, individually participating to improve that the the grievances and redress of the have-nots or all those who go to the police stations and all. But unfortunately, that continues, sir. So, very briefly, can you enlighten us? What could we do to see that a common person, a simple person, a villager and all, his problems, his bicycle theft, FIR is lodged, or there's an abduction case, or harassment of his daughter or women, this being attended to. You had huge experience. Just the practical tips.
Mr. Mukherjee, the feudal bias and the feudal base of the police did not develop overnight. The British saw to it that the police in India are feudal because they had an empire to defend and the monarch to serve. Today things are very different, but we did not change in a manner to serve the people. We did not think for a moment that we are not serving a monarch, we are serving the people, the poor people of this country. That has come to a very, very great improvement in that also. But you and I do not represent the police. We are not even 1% of the police. The police, 99.99% is the constabulary and the head constable and the sub-inspectors. There, the people-friendly approach, unfortunately, we have not been able to instill in that. We may have Jan Sampark Pakwadas, we may have Aman Committee or Peace Committees, we may have, but what is required today, a success story and something that is an international best practice, that is community policing. Now we need to go forward, proactive. We need to go from society to society, understand, not absolute youngsters, nothing against youngsters, but somebody who has the experience and the maturity to handle the problem of ladies, eve teasing, domestic violence, and then report it to the police. Everybody, and my concern is Section 154 of the old CRPC. And 173 of the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita.
The new one.
FIR. It is said that it's easier to climb the Mount Everest than to lodge an FIR.
Very right, very right.
But it has to be set right. You please make an online and you'll be happy to know the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Samhita has the provision. Send an online. There is zero FIR. All this has been catered to. And I'm sure this will make wonders. But for every police leadership, please go out of your way. Every complaint has to be addressed. Take time to meet the people. And also every FIR. The word used is, if the complaint discloses the commission of a cognizable offence, the SO shall. There is no element of discretion.
Very right. This is wonderful. We have got enough of food for thought. And they all look very doable, my dear viewers. And Dr. Vikram Singh outlined very specifically and pinpointedly about it, and how to reduce the trust deficit between police and public, how to improve policing, and the historical and sociological reasons for this deficit have also been spelled out very nicely, adequately by him, the feudal system, the British system, etc. So on the whole, we find that there's nothing that the road is full of roadblocks and obstacles, the impediments. There is way out to control. So let us have a glimmer of hope. Let's not reel under any kind of despair as long as such veteran police officers are available and they continue to come out with fresh ideas. They think they are actually literally, metaphorically also, the think tank, and so many ideas are flowing from that. So thank you very much, sir, for being with us this afternoon and sparing your precious time. We all stand very enlightened and benefited by your pearls of wisdom. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. God bless that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.